What's up, guys? It's Eli here with Night Jiu-Jitsu. I'm here with my man Aaron Giannetti, and we just finished up another course up here in San Jose, California at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu East San Jose. We had an awesome turnout. This was over Knife Control Concepts. Again, not at all what we're talking about today, because I'm going to do a video on Kesa Gatame, or scarf hold. I absolutely love this position and all of its variants, and I want to try to approach as much information from its different forms and faces as possible, and a lot of cool submissions out of it, because it is a target rich environment for the most part as far as different submissions that you can apply from it, and it's a lot of fun. This is essentially the basic breakdown of it. So starting from the basic kind of application of this like almost headlock style position, and the variant I like to use of this one as well is Makura Kesa Gatame, or a pillow scarf. And pillow scarf is where I'm taking the arm that's underneath his head and I'm grabbing the inside of my thigh, so he's encapsulated with his head and arm in this area. From here, different submissions that we might be looking for. First of all, the important thing about the structure that I need to address and make sure that I'm not too overcommitted one way or another, or undercommitted one way or another. I want to make sure that my chest is oriented facing and down this way for the most part. I want to make sure that this kickstand here is active. I'm keeping this engaged. My glute is engaged. I'm driving the pressure into him. My hip and thigh are kind of close to his lat and his underarm, and then I'm wrapping up his arm on this side. Now, what kind of submissions can we start to do from here? Good question. Some of them are where I can start to push his arm down. This is one of the most basic, like caveman style arm bars you'll ever come across. But if I start to push Aaron's arm to the floor, and by the time his pinky starts reaching the floor, depending on his flexibility, that might actually be an arm lock. And it might also transition to other kind of arm locks. If I need a little bit higher of a fulcrum, I might bring this arm inside here and use that to break the arm over that way, right? As far as that goes, maybe his arm is too long, not the case with Aaron, but if his arm was actually too long, I might even be able to use my foot this way, pull his head away from it, and use that little variation as well. When he does start to encounter some kind of resistance and he starts to try to muscle back, because I'm trying to straighten his arm, he starts to bend it back, then I might be able to use this leg to slide up on top of his arm like this, and I'm going to bring my second leg in and I want to cross them over this way. So this one hides behind. I want to bring my shin in by his wrist on this side, so if he does try to straighten back out, it's not happening from here, and now I can go back and I'm going to use this as more of a bent arm structure. And the structure here is I'm trying to pull his head away from it to add extra tension to his shoulder, and then I'm going to let go of his arm to show you the mechanic of what this would do, so I don't actually break his arm on the demo. And I want to slide my hips back this way. So that's going to put a ton of torque in that Americana kind of configuration. So whenever we get there, what it looks like full speed, no, I'm just kidding. But whenever we get here, I'm going to slide my hips back, pull his head away. There's a lot of torque for that Americana with the legs that way. You could also, if he does manage to straighten it out, as long as I catch his wrist between my two ankles, I can finish with a straight arm variation in a similar kind of regard as well. Sometimes from this position, he's here like this, I'm not quite getting it, or whatever is the case. There's also a sneaky little wrist lock right here too, so if you're just that mean. So that's some other different ones that we can do. And all those exist from Makura Kesa Gatame, as well as arguably one of my favorite submissions from Kesa Gatame across the board, which is the accordion squeeze, or the trash compactor, or the shark machine, or whatever you want to call this, where I'm in this pillow scarf and I want to catch his bottom leg, not top, bottom leg. I want to scoop it up. I'm going to grab the inside of both of my two thighs, and then I'm going to use the squeeze of my knees here to compact. And it's just a horrible compression submission. Absolute nightmare on him. One of my favorite submissions from this position. Now, if we move in from this Makura Kesa Gatame here like this, we move into this style of Kesa Gatame, or Kuzuri, or Kuzuri Kesa Gatame, or broken scarf hold, right? Now on this side here, now we have submissions across the body, because underhooking gives me access to this arm over on this side. Sometimes from this position, his arm may be floating in front to try to frame against me here like this. If that's the case, he's just literally handing me an Americana. So I want to sneak in here by my face. I want to use my body, not my arm, but my body, to turn his arm toward the ground. I want this arm as deep as possible underneath his shoulder, and I want to press and step over to drive his arm to the floor, start to get my Americana configuration, heavy hips on the armpit on this side, on the near side, and I want to scrape his knuckles toward the floor so that I'm getting this nice rotation over, dragging his knuckles down parallel to his body, elbows squeezing in, encapsulating his shoulder like that, and then using that Americana style submission to break his arm on that side. If instead he's not framing in front of my face, but rather he knows that there's a lot of attacks I can look to do around here, he might actually be hugging me closer. This is a common tendency because he doesn't want to give up his arms, or he's unfamiliar with the position, whatever is the case. If that's the case here, I need to break his grip that he has, which may be kind of difficult unless I start to frame against his face. The way I'm going to frame against his face is I want to touch his chin to the floor. So I might use my forearm here or even my hand to push his chin to the floor. As I'm doing that, when I feel that pressure make his arms pop open, now I'm going to hug up nice and deep. His arms behind me, so there's no Americana, but there is an arm crunch. So what that starts to look like from here is I step over the head, I slide up until the well of my elbow is just above his elbow here. I go wrist to wrist, butterfly style grip, and I try to pull my thumb on the bottom side to my top side shoulder. I pinch his wrist between my ear and shoulder on this side, and I arm crunch that way. Now, also on the other side too, maybe I don't quite feel like I'm gonna get that one, then I can go back to this side over here, and I can push his wrist back toward my tailbone, hips in nice and heavy, as I drive in that way here. So this is coming back almost for like a shotgun style arm bar on that side. So lots of cool ones all the way across the body like that. Now, when we look at reverse scarf or Shiro Kesa Gatame here like this, it's important that I don't hover too low down by his waist, because it's going to be very easy for him to shove me down off of his legs, and that's not going to be good for me, because now he's going to be escaping out and he's going to have access to my back. So it's very important whenever I get into this position, I want to go high as possible up across his chest as if I were actually sitting on his shoulder, and now I'm facing his legs from this position. This one's my elbow on the floor is nice and high up into his armpit. I'm blocking down by his legs, mostly just monitoring more than blocking, but I am monitoring just in case he accidentally or intentionally tries to knee me in the face. I don't want that to happen. From here, you have a pretty easy mount all the way across and over. You can go a little more Dagestani mount, where I gather up the two legs here like this, figure four, my two legs, and then I sit here on his legs like that. A common tendency for him in this position is to start posting up on his elbow to try to sit up and frame against me, which is going to give me now better access to the Dagestani handcuff in addition to that leg lace that I have here. So this is great for MMA, obviously. If you watch the Dagestani wrestlers play that in MMA a whole lot. Additionally, from that, I have a standard kind of mount. I have that low mount Dagestani style. I also have cool back takes off of here. A really good back take from this position is where I kind of guide his legs, which is kind of what he wants in the first place in a lot of ways, because he's going to typically chase me with his legs to try to replace some kind of guard. So as those legs are coming over that way, then I can step my leg over and across here, so I get his leg between mine. I'm going to roll over across my shoulder as if I'm trying to reach for his other leg here like this. And then whenever we get to this position, I'm using this knee lever. I'm pinching my two knees together. I'm pushing this one down toward the floor. This one's acting as a fulcrum. I want to grab hold of his hip here like this. And then from there, I start to drag here as this top leg becomes the bottom hook now, securing that aspect of the back position. This is the most important hook, so I can keep it nice and high here like this. This one's coming over. My supporting arm over here is now searching for the seatbelt, and from that position now I'm going to cross my two ankles between his legs, and then I start to get my seatbelt connected like this here. So again, on that one here, different variations that we can look at. I can use that knee lever type back take right there where I just step over and I go that way, or I can use this foot to actually pass it to my secondary leg, where that looks like this, where I step in the back of his leg this way here and I push it to this one. Now this is can still continue on to take his back from this position, or I can use this actually as a truck entry where I can come up here and I can look for the calf slicer. I can look to control his other leg here in this position and then get the calf slicer that way. Or if I'm not getting access to the calf slicer and he's trying to extend away, I'll catch it with my figure of four and then use that to continue on taking his back as we did in the first example. Probably my favorite variation, and it's one of the odd ones you don't see played a whole lot. The way that this one happens, let's turn this way if you don't mind. The way this one will happen is rather than the pillow scarf on this side, it will actually be the pillow scarf where my leg is under his head instead, and I still have the far side underhook. So this is this reverse kind of pillow scarf in this position. Very strong controlling position. It's very difficult for Aaron to frame, to kick his legs over my head, lots of different things. If he is trying to frame, which can be potentially one of the most successful things, he is still actually giving me access to get either the Americana or the straight arm variation. If I need help on that straight arm variation, I can step here and then I can pull up through his shoulder, again making a nasty straight arm bar like that. If he's not giving me access to that because he knows that's my primary submission here like this, I can influence him sometimes from here. Obviously, if this were MMA, different story, I could hammer fist and elbow. But if he's not giving me access to that and this is strictly a grappling scenario, I can always muffle him like this here, make him bring that hand around, and so now he gives me that. Or sometimes from there too, if he's not giving me access to the arm, I can cup inside his elbow, drag this across my throat, get his hand pinched right down here underneath my chin, double up on his elbow, crunch my chin down, and then get that wrist lock right there with my own neck. So that's kind of an interesting one. A good way to set this position up, if it's a little confusing, is sometimes I'll actually, if I see that the guy has any inclination at all at wanting to do like a ghost escape, I'll actually kind of incentivize him to do that by making my hip a little lighter. And then as he starts to do that, I want to pick his head up so that he can't easily pass it. And then once I have the clearance underneath his head, I'll slide through like a sit out. I'm going to grab a hold here, and then now we're back in that position. So this is another variation of Makoto Kesa Gatame or pillow scarf. So that's several different variations of scarf hold or Kesa Gatame, and lots of different submissions that we can do all around the body, including some different ways that we can mount or take the back or whatever. So it's obviously a very target-rich environment. All of the variations of Kesa Gatame is a target-rich environment. It's a strong pinning position for cross-side pins, and it's really good to implement into your grappling game if you're not already playing it. I think it's underutilized in Jiu-Jitsu a lot of the times, used heavily in Judo, but it's got a lot of valuable stuff from it. So anyway, if you're ever up in San Jose, California, and you want to get a great place to train some great Jiu-Jitsu, come here to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu East San Jose. Julius, who's behind the counter the camera right now, is here. He's the owner and the chief instructor, and he's a phenomenal human being. He was gracious enough to host us this weekend. If you ever have a chance to come to one of our courses on knife control concepts, then make sure that you do that as well. Appreciate you, Aaron. Love you, buddy.
Love you.
And keep on watching Night Jiu-Jitsu.